It's too hot.
Too hot to stick around. I'm escorting Jeff out.
Good enough.
Good, Brad. Good, Brad. Grable Zimmerman rezoning request, motion to advertise, period.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the motion before you, and I'll read it first and then explain. The motion is to approve the Township Solicitor proceed with the Grable Zimmerman zoning text amendment by advertising as required for a public hearing to take place at the regular Board of Supervisors meeting on September 20, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. We are at the point now where we're ready to start taking action on the zoning request, but this is only one part of it. There will also be an actual zoning hearing that will occur in the first meeting of October. So after talking with Mr. Grable and talking with both his attorney and with our solicitor, we're going to break these two approvals up and do the text amendment first, and then we're going to come back to the zoning hearing for the second one for the rezoning. So that is your motion. You have a copy of the ordinance in there, which is why it'll be with the advertisement. It will be posted on the website to support the advertisement that will occur. The only change from what you had reviewed at the last meeting 2 weeks ago is the dropping of the anti-idling provision, which is what the County Planning Commission recommended because that mirrored state law and felt that was redundant, plus if state law changes, it make our ordinance irrelevant. So we dropped that. You see Tom Goodman saying that we had to go back to both planning commissions. That doesn't stop us from advertising it, but this will be on the agenda for Monday's planning commission meeting that we need that one single change. And the county, I reached out to them and they waived on another review. And they basically by email have their acknowledgement that it does not need to be so. So this is ready for the board to move forward with advertisement for the text amendment only part of this project.
Okay. What's that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second same. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. That's no. Motion passed, thank you. Univest.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I wanted to have an agreement before you today, but we got our solicitor's comments a day and a half ago. We passed them on to Univest yesterday, and in all fairness, Univest needs a couple days to digest it and respond back to us. I do anticipate that we will be taking action at our first September meeting, formally putting Univest under contract. Univest has already begun the transition process, so they have all of our documents they need. They've already started that process, so we're not losing any time. I have to admit a little disappointed that we're not in a position to take action today, but that's a position we're in right now. The comments from our solicitor, there's only one that I think Univest might get hung up a little bit, and that's the limited liability that they agreed in their contract, which was limited to their fees, and our solicitor fired back that there needs to be a greater liability. That'll probably have to be something that gets hammered out by their attorney and our attorney. The rest of the comments, I think, Univest will not hurt any. So if we could, Mr. Chair, just like to table that to our next meeting. Yes, if you could, motion to table execution of the Univest municipal pension
I'll make
service.
that motion. I'll make the motion. I mean, Scott? That's all right.
I'll second that.
Big cold word. He keeps getting them. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed no. Motion carried. Thank you. DFW car show request to close Plymouth Grove Road, August 26th.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this just came in yesterday, so I've not even talked to police or the chief about this. I have some coordinating that I have to do with them.
He came down and talked to me, it was Mr. Swire, came down and asked me, I said, you got to go upstairs and talk to them about the road. It's a township thing. They've had it in the past there, and to be honest with you, with the amount of people that they get, and there are little kids that are there with probably dad, grandpa, someone along those lines. From our perspective, I think it would be a good idea that we're going to prevent anybody trying to show off as they're going past the car show in the park. I mean, to me, it would be fine.
Yeah. Anything we need to, anything we need to coordinate on, and I'm not sure, but that's why I have to talk to Chief about is whether at the two barricades, we're actually gonna have to do fire police, because they're gonna be waving on traffic through the barricades. And I told them that there might be a requirement imposed upon them to do fire police, which they're okay. I said, I just had to coordinate with them, and they're letting it all stuff.
We need fire police,
So the motion, there's some coordination we got to do. So the motion before you is to permit the road closure of Bruins Grove Road on Sunday, August 26th from 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., subject to review and approval by township staff. And basically, one of the things we got to coordinate with them is how they pick up the road closed signs, what they do with them, and whether we do fire police or not.
Those are up to fire police, yeah. Because that's what we do for the automobile race. Yeah, so that works out fine.
Quick question, is that between White Oak and Reinhold Road? That's basically where the VFW is.
Yeah.
Because you do have residents on the other half of Bruins Grove going on the third floor, they so I guess it depends on how much of Bruins they actually want to close off.
They are closing off.
Well, there's Dogwood,
At Ryan.
I'm sorry, not White Oak, it's Dogwood and
I
Reinhold.
think that's right.
Yeah, it's Dogwood to Reynolds, that's where they're closing off.
Yeah, that's not a big area.
There's no way around that.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Okay, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, thank you. Business. Florida.
This is Chair, right now that is in the school board's hands for them to comment on. They have our comments from the last meeting, and they have a copy of that white paper.
Traffic safety intersection, Money Creek and 272.
We did get the updated comments from, a response from the developer from Rose Hill, not Rose Hill, from Foxbrook. And I am going to be, at this point, having Ritu now correspond directly with PennDOT, start getting some guidance on what we could possibly do with their intersection from a traffic perspective.
EMS working group update.
We are in the process of setting up a meeting with Wellspan. Our contact at Wellspan's off this week, but he indicated, or he texted me that he'd get back to me early Monday next week to set up a follow-up meeting. That would be myself and Mr. Scott Hockey at that meeting.
Stony Point sidewalk waiver.
I met with the president of Landmark. We have a verbal agreement where they'll pay the township $3,000 for funeral for us to basically cover our costs to put the trail in instead of sidewalk on the township schedule. They are going to be working on an indemnification agreement that's acceptable to them and our process for our review. And then I told them, since we're the one requesting it, the waiver, that I would prepare the waiver on their behalf for board execution. But that is actually heading in a positive way. What I'm looking at from a timing perspective is when the Stony Point Park goes to apply for their grants, this would actually become part of that grant application, would be some of what our matching in kind work, both labor and costs are going to be for our matching grants. So we basically would be applying for that project, for that community build project, a DCED or DCNR grant, park grant. And we have to come up with a 50% match, and this could start going towards our part of the 50% match. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone at this point. So we're not talking about putting the trail on the right away, we're talking about tying it in, so we'll do a bigger Stony Point Park project.
Rental properties ordinance.
Did have a meeting with Mr. Steve Brubaker 2 weeks ago. He is definitely taking this very seriously. He had done an extensive amount of research, and he's gone back now looking at different ordinances that currently exist in the county, and he's basically kind of looking at different extremes. He's looking at what the city of Lancaster has, which would be probably the most heavy-handed in terms of rental ordinance, and he's looking at what East Lampeter is currently doing, which would be probably much more lightly handed, and probably more similar to what we probably want to do here. So he's gathering that additional information, and he's going to set a meeting with me after the Labor Day.
Okay, beautification strategy.
One minute.
Yes.
Where do you see any kind of crossover with the Airbnb situation that we've dealt with? Is this just kind of apples and oranges?
No, that's actually part of it. So let me see if I can find my notes here exactly. But what we were looking at, and I'll do this off the top of my head, we were looking at 4 different scenarios, which would have different degrees of, you would have different types of rental scenarios. You would have owner occupied, which is probably one we would not want to regulate. That's where grandma moves in with grandson or something like that. You know, and you're talking about the landlord being living in the same place as the tenant. Very good control in that situation. We have Airbnbs, which would be the next level. We have your long-term rentals, and then we have short-term rentals, would be the thing. And those are kind of the different degrees of complexity and issues to the town. So the short-term rentals give us the biggest issues. I would argue your owner-occupied rentals we don't even know about because they're non-issues. And Airbnb would be the next level, and then rentals, long-term rentals, and the short-term rentals.
What's the differentiation between a short term and a short term, I guess? Like a Airbnb on a daily or a weekend basis?
I think the difference between like an Airbnb vacation type rental and a short-term rental is quite frankly where people of limited means are occupying hotel rooms to put short-term rentals. And that's the issue East Lampere is trying to develop to tackle right now in their township. So it's actually kind of applying more onto the hotels that engage in short-term weekly rentals.
We basically look at a weekly time frame instead of a
Weekend or a couple of days, what Airbnb represents.
Those two could cross over.
That's what we're looking at seeing what it is. But those would be the 4 criteria when Steve and I kind of looked at it on that. Again, we'll get more information and people can decide. I do think that owner occupied is, if every rental we had here was owner occupied, we have no rental problems.
Right.
So,
I think the difference too, Jeff, in the way that I look at Airbnbs and short-term rentals really on the real estate side have tended to be 6 months. Okay, a normal rental would be a 1-year lease, a 2-year lease, but it tends to be anything under, I don't know of anyone that really rents for less than 6 months.
Well, then if you're going to use that, anything under that would be a Airbnb. There's no other classification.
I would classify the other one what we call weekly rentals, and that we do have weekly rentals on in the township. I can't say what the terms are or how they are transposing, but
For single-family homes, really.
these are at hotels. When you see school buses dropping kids off at hotels, that's a weekly rental situation.
Okay.
That does happen in this township.
Great, that would help us.
Right, and that's what East Lampere is trying to address with their thing. It's more about bringing up to code those buildings that are engaging in weekly rentals. It's not trying to drive the people out, but just to bring the standard up. Because the conditions in a lot of the weekly rental situations are rather poor for those residents.
They're tired buildings.
They're very old buildings and they're very low maintenance on these ones.
Okay, moving on, beautification strategy for the township.
I'm working on that, it's an ongoing item, so really no updates right now. The one thing I would like to do though is, I'll talk to Lisa about removing the community first at this point, because we already are, the chief's putting that on his cars, and that was really the intent of that grant, so.
And are the signs lighted yet?
I heard that was going to be within a few days. I guess they did the landscaping, or the initial landscaping around it with some the other stuff we cut back a little bit. I think that's on his list is one of the next projects.
Wasn't Tony supposed to check the electric while it was raining?
Give me another book over it.
That's right.
Be done.
What do you
While-
think?
while it was
That's why
raining.
his head's blowing.
I'm done. Hey, on the beautification, you gave me an action item. I just got a couple of examples I'll hand out to the board. You don't even have to comment on them today. Yes, there was one for Scott also. Good. I reached out to our friends at, basically the idea came up about some sort of a welcome packet for new residents and all that good stuff, commercial and mostly commercial district. And I reached out to our friend at Crown Trophy, Beth Good. She did the black and white one just based on a little bit of information that I gave her. It's nothing special, but this is like, no means anything, but I figured, like to feedback on that, see what you think. This way you didn't forget about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tony, I forgot about, we talked about that one. Yeah, the intent there is really handing the businesses, after the great examples, New Holland Transport or UGI when they're completed a plaque. Yeah, here you are. I really, and just for the rest of the public, it's got East Cocalico Township on there. It basically has all the fire departments and their logos on there. And that plaque would actually be printed and it would be signed by the Board of Supervisors, the Chief of Police, Zoning Officer, the Roadmaster, and the 3 fire chiefs. I just think that Tony came up with the idea. It's kind of interesting. It's a neat way to say thank you to the businesses that are coming in, welcome them, and put a nice plaque in that for you. That's not a final version at all. That's just concept.
This is first collection, and believe me, we'd like to get some other input on it if it goes in that direction.
Thanks, Tony.
Yes.
I'm not doing any free stuff.
No free stuff.
I like welcome.
No baskets of stuff, no.
No baskets.
A lottery ticket.
Scratch off.
Alice will buy it.
Scratch off. Weaver's gift certificate.
Beaver gets there,
There you go.
maybe a little. New business, getting more waste to prevent illegal dumping.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have in your packet some research that has been done now and some reaching out that we did to the same contractor that is currently doing the work for Denver Borough. So the company's called PSX. We have an estimate right now of $6,800 for them to install a gated system. We'd have to run electric, it's actually not going to be too much more common to that location. There's also a charge of $73 for every 25 cars, so roughly it works out to be $3 a card to get this established. I am currently waiting for getting July's numbers in, and then I'm going to run analysis on what our rate of return is going to be for this. And I'm going to make an assumption that we will issue 500 cards in the first year of 2019, 1,000 cards in 2020. Denver Borough currently charges about $15 a card annually for those, and I think that will probably turn out to be a good number for us there, for covering costs. I anticipate that this will reduce the woody waste usage by at least half from what we currently have annually now. And right now, we're anticipating that disposing of our woody waste this year is going to be about $24,000, give or take what the actual volume turns out to be. So going forward, with the card system in place, that will obviously take out all the commercial dumping that's currently occurring right now. The woody waste, probably the various landscapers that are utilizing this as a free dumping zone. I do have some ideas to think about, but not actually asking for opinions tonight, but just to think about. One is whether we open that up to commercial businesses where we can set a rate based on what we anticipate the usage would be. And that would be for doing just maintenance on the property. An example would be if our barber up here at the corner decides he wants to trim his bushes. Stuff like that would be a giving them a place to dispose of the material. It is not going to be for landscapers to get a commercial pass and come in and dump. So it'd be basically for a business owner who's just going to do work on his property and dispose of materials. Just the one thing to think of. And then, I lost my train of thought. The other thing to think about is the location of the cardboard recycling container. What we did when we closed it, we had outside the gates along the grass area. That was a little bit less than ideal. We moved it back inside the wooded waste area. With the update that we're going to be doing with our recycling ordinance, which every municipality is now doing to reflect the changes that Waxahoma has done. Pretty much every municipality is updating their warrants just to reflect the things that Waxahoma would take. There already are haulers required to pick up cardboard curbside. Majority of the people, from what I've heard from Lisa, that are utilizing it, a good number of them are actually businesses that are coming in and depositing the cardboard. I'd like to keep that within the gated area, so if somebody wants to use it, they have to get a gate card just like they would do for the road waste. If they're a resident and they're trying to save some money and they're at that $15 card an issue, and just put it out personally. So I'd like to not have it sitting outside there. I do think that that will cut down a lot of dumping that's occurring inside that cardboard container right now. Because if somebody buys a gate card, they're going to obviously be a lot more responsible than somebody driving up at midnight and emptying out the contents of what's in the car. So I would recommend that we kind of move it in there. That'll get rid of a lot of the dumping. I did a visual check of that container. It's about 30% non-cardboard mixed in with that container. And right now, we did contact Goods, and they don't have an issue with it. They got it sorted on their end, and since cardboard pays right now, they want to do that. But the cardboard market, anytime it goes the route of the newspaper market, and all of a sudden we can't have any waste in there, and we're worried around water. So it's my hope that by putting it in the gated area, we'll cut down on all the illegal dumping that's occurring in it. So that's just a couple things to think about. Open up the businesses as well as keeping the cardboard recycling container within the gate.
Do you want to discuss this tonight, or just get back with you with ideas?
I'm just officially introducing it to you. I really don't need any comment unless you have some right now.
Yeah, I got some comments. Sorry. You say, open this up to businesses. And in that sentence, it goes on to say, this would not include landscapers and contractors. My question is, what would prevent, I own a business along 272, but I don't want to trim all those bushes, okay? So I'm going to hire one of these landscapers or somebody to come in and trim it. They can't get rid of that stuff, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they would be. And we don't want the commercial landscapers utilizing this, because we're talking about that, it's got to be such a large volume that would come our way.
So, yeah, okay.
So I'll give you an example. Pepperidge has a landscaper that's going around doing a pretty significant trim right now around their facility.
Right.
Their material would not come to our way with it. If they did their material way with that pile we got right now, would double in size overnight.
Okay.
That's how much trimming they're doing right now.
I cut through there once in a while.
And most of those businesses, when they use the landscapers stuff, those landscapers are actually taking that with them somewhere else. They've got contracts.
Yeah, that's the somewhere else is what scares me. That the somewhere else will end up being back here. That's all
I would picture the ones that would utilize it, to be honest with you, are not going to be the Pepperidges, the Highs, the big one. It's going to be like the Bradley's Financial and stuff like that, where he goes at himself, trims some stuff up, throws it in a truck, and drops it off.
Or Al's place, where he goes and trims some
We
bushes.
do have some businesses hire individuals to trim their stuff and bring it back here.
Right.
And it's not their truck.
Right.
They hire individuals.
It's gonna be tough to regulate. I mean, to do it 100%, it's gonna be real tough because they're gonna find a way around it.
And that's why I just threw the discussion.
I know.
It's just,
Yeah, Ken?
Maybe you don't want any other input on this, but I have a comment to make. As a resident here, I think $15 a card is a little excessive. Okay, that's my opinion. I think the township gets money from recycling for that pile, unless I'm wrong. I think we get money from recycling on that pile.
We get credit for the car.
No,
we don't get credit.
None?
You've actually paid.
Well, I can tell you, like me, I hate being a resident of the East Cocalico Township and not buying a card and coming here, but it would pay me to take it up to Martin's Mulch, because when the PAL was closed, I had a bag of trimmings I was gonna drop off. I didn't realize it was closed. I took them up to Martin's Mulch
50 cents.
and 50 cents.
Right.
If I do that 5 times a year, that's $2.50 in my book. Why
Well,
no.
you're right, Kenny, but you know that it's gonna be the choice of the person whether they wanna spend the $15 or not. I mean, somebody that has a property like I do, that fills my 8x10 trailer up 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times a year, yeah, I'll spend the $15 if I can bring it back here. Understanding that we're not gonna accept certain things, so then it goes up to Martin Mulch, and I'm paying $10. So, you know, you gotta get rid of it somewhere, you just can't throw it in your neighbor's place.
You gotta remember that the individual like me is gonna help pay for that recycling out there.
Well, and that's the case with everything that goes on in this
That's
world.
right.
And I'm subsidizing people every day, and so are you, and so is everybody in this room, that don't pay their fair share, so as far as I'm concerned.
See, part of this, Ken, is we've got to do something because there's so much illegal trimmings getting dumped somewhere.
Right.
And I'll give you a great example. I was coming up 272, the housing development right there in front of where the pool is in Adamstown. There was a gentleman literally walking back across the road with a wheelbarrow that he had just dumped, I'm sure, across the street along the tree line there. And that's what people are doing. And quite frankly, in my development, they do it in Quail Hollow. What they're doing in Quail Hollow is right there, they go right across the street over to where Pepperidge Farms area is.
But that gate isn't gonna stop that, though. That gate isn't gonna stop that dumping it on the illegal end.
The demographic
The
where
people that are doing it need to be caught.
Well, the demographic where I am, I can only speak for Quail Hollow. I believe that with a high probability that demographic will spend the money for the $15, knowing they can dispose of it correctly and get rid of it without the risk of running into one of the chief's officers and getting fined or something happening.
On the video camera.
Yeah.
You know what the lane looks like down there by the 222 bridge at your development?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's a great example.
Oh, Rose Hill.
Yeah, Roseville, they do it all the time.
Yeah,
I know.
all the grass and all.
I know.
You know that. Now, I don't think you're ever gonna stop it all,
Never.
as long as you don't have, cameras and stuff everywhere to catch people, they're gonna find a way to get around it and dump tires and dump here and do that, and it's just part of the deal.
Thanks for listening to me.
No, that's
That's
right,
all right.
Kenny.
Just, Doug,
Well, you know,
I don't want to.
and I don't have a problem, Scott, there's some things we need to really think about. Allowing businesses to purchase a card for a negotiated fee, depending on the amount of material they deposit annually. That, if I come in for a fee, a card, I'm gonna tell you, well, I'll bring a wheelbarrow load in a year. And it turns out to be 14 tractor trailers. Yeah, I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be hard to regulate, it really is. I'm not criticizing what you did, it's a start, but these are all things that I think, we also said, we talked about leaving that, put the cardboard dumpster back inside the gate, I agree. Because I was out the other day to take cardboard out, and there was a sofa sitting behind the door. Somebody put a sofa around the back where you couldn't see it.
That's so you could rest.
I mean, it just goes on and on. And I'd really like to catch them and take them down in the Hanson County, get $600 out and pay the township, and hopefully it'll go away.
That's to go with the pool table we got the other year.
Yeah.
Where else are you gonna get good used furniture?
And then cheap. And we won't even, I won't get into this.
Yeah, that's
That's because there's
I-
things in there.
I just have one thing to add, and it's actually, now that you mentioned Nancy Hamel, it's one of the comments that I had. And I'm gonna say this, is the $600 really enough of a fine when people start dumping things like paints, turpentines?
I've said with people with public maintenance concerns, it's a minimum of 100, maximum of $1,000. And if it's more than one occurrence, it goes up very
Substantial.
And Judge Hamel has gotten that on that and the ordinance.
But just general littering laws, I think there's some state limits as to what we can find on that.
But actually, I heard just the other day that there's gonna be changes in the littering laws. They're gonna make like sliding rate. So if you have a person that is continually getting caught doing it, it's gonna, I think it's gonna resemble somewhat the retail theft laws, third time's a felony. So I don't know where that's going. I know it's in the Senate right now. I think they said, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, investment of township funds in interest-bearing accounts.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I sent you this a little bit earlier today. This is a follow-up to our discussion 2 weeks ago. I told you I'd give you a little bit more specifics, at least a starting point. What I'm recommending is placing some of our monies that we currently have in an interest-bearing checking account, which I think we're getting about 0.25% of interest right now, on into a 2% money market, municipal money market through Univest Banking. I had provided you at the previous meeting, and in the email I resent to you today, the 3 banks that had responded, which included BB&T and After National, and Univest clearly had the overall best rates. What we're looking at doing is a 2-pronged approach. The first prong would be just to immediately move from 6 of our funds monies into a money market account. Not all of the monies, but a portion of the monies. And because it's a money market account, we can move it back anytime we need the money. And then when we go through the 2019 budget, looking at a couple of the specific funds, such as UGI Get Gas, which is about $111,000, putting that into a fund that generates a better rate than 2%. Would probably either more of a like a 5-year CD or possibly even a municipal bond fund or something along that lines. So what the first step, though, after talking with Liz, we just want to get this first step going, but be very conservative, just get into the money market account, so we're getting a better rate of return, and then utilize the budgeting process that's going to be occurring over the next month and a half to determine where we want to put some of these funds. A lot of funds will still stay in a money market account because we need to have access to it. But some of the funds can go into much longer investments until such time that we know we plan to spend. So what we're looking at is approximately $2.5 million that we transferred into a money market funds. 6 funds: a general fund, the pool fund, the checking recreation fund, capital reserve fund, police retirement fund, and traffic impact fee fund. So it'd be $1 million from the general fund checking account, $163,000 from the pool checking account, $200